if you have been watching my channel for any length of time, particularly in the last maybe 18 months, you know that I have been promising that I was going to introduce you guys to my core coin collection. So this is it. This is finally that long-awaited introduction to coin collecting, the Dub C way, the philosophy of how I collect coins. And this is going to be a fun one, I think. I think you're really going to enjoy this. Strap in, hold on tight, because I'm going to introduce you to a lot of concepts that could be very mind-blowing if you've never heard them before. But this is going to be a lot of fun. If you are new to the channel, my name is Dub C, and I am thrilled that you've decided to spend some time with me here today. I hope that you will go ahead and click on that subscription button, become part of this community. We have a lot of fun here. And if you're one of my returning subscribers, you guys know that I've been promising it, and there are reasons, believe me, that I haven't jumped right into it. And this is going to be kind of an interesting introduction that's going to be followed up by a series of videos where I talk about many of the pieces in my core coin collection, but I needed to give you a bedrock. We'll talk about that term a little bit later in this video also, before I just start diving right into everything. So this is going to be fun. Hold on tight, stay with me to the end, and definitely let me know what you think about this. If you are new to the channel, I like to begin my videos with a simple disclaimer. That is that I am not a financial advisor. I am not trying to offer you any kind of financial advice. I'm simply trying to share with you some of my experience having bought and sold precious metals and rare coins for the last 30 or 40 years. Now that is my typical disclaimer, but in this case, I want to reiterate that I've actually been collecting coins for the better part of half of a century, right? I started collecting coins when I was a very young kid, and before I think of myself in any other terms, I think of myself as a numismatist. I am a coin collector at heart. That doesn't mean that I don't stack precious metals. You guys who are familiar with the channel know that I have lots of really interesting pieces, and that I have lots of videos on that subject as well. But this is really going to kind of dragging coin collecting into the picture also. And I think by the end of this video series, you're going to have a lot deeper knowledge of the concept of a coin collection, and maybe even a little bit of an advanced coin collection. You'll have to let me know what you think about that. So I begin my videos with the disclaimer, but then I also give you a couple of topics, a little subject that I want you to be thinking about, some concepts that we can work back into this. I want to give you the idea of distillation. Now, you could also call this refining, and in fact, since we talk about precious metals so much on the channel, that might be a little bit easier to digest. Let's talk about distillation in the sense, not so much of making corn liquor or anything like that. It's really the idea of purifying by successive evaporation and condensation. I'm going to play fast and loose with that definition, but hear me out. If you are familiar with the concept of gold mining, let's just use that as an example because I think it's an exciting example. It's got lots of illustration purposes, points that we can make. If you're going to start going out looking for gold, you can't just find gold everywhere, right? Gold is in a very specific geological formation. So wherever in the world you're starting out, you're going to have to go somewhere where gold could exist. So we're already kind of distilling from where you were to try to finding the exact place where gold might be. You have to find the right geology. You have to find a layer of topsoil most of the time, right? You have to know that under so much topsoil, there's going to be bedrock below which gold can't go. Gold, obviously, heavier than most other things out in the wilderness that could impede your ability to find it. So you've got to find the right geology. It's got to be in a place where gold could exist. It's got to have the right quartz formations or whatever else there is. And then you are going to have to use the idea of concentrating. You're going to have to go with the concept of taking away all of the topsoil, all of the debris, all of the rubble that is not going to contain gold or potentially contain gold. And you're going to have to condense it or concentrate it into the material that could potentially contain gold. So that is already that distillation process again, right? Starting from somewhere to going somewhere specific that could have gold. You're getting rid of all the stuff that doesn't matter, trying to find that concentration of material that could have gold. And then once you have all of that, you have to refine it even further. You have to distill it even further. You've got to pan it out, run it through a sluice or whatever else your next step is going to be. Eventually you might have coarse gold or flakes or flour gold, whatever it is, in your pan, or in your sluice runs, but then you're still going to have to concentrate it even further. And then you're going to probably have to burn off the liquid, the water, hopefully not the mercury that you were using to get your gold. You're finally going to reach a point where you've got your raw material and now you've finally got your gold, unless you want to refine it to pure gold. And then you have to go through the process all over again of refining it using chemicals or whatever means you're going to use to refine your gold. So you're constantly concentrating, you're constantly refining, you're constantly distilling, trying to get down to the exact thing that you really want. And the process of elimination is getting rid of all of the things that don't matter. That's ultimately what we're going to be thinking about in this video. Because this video is the philosophy of a box of 20 collection. Hold on, I promise this is going to be a lot of fun, right? There are lots of different types of collecting. Box of 20 is the one that I pursue, and I'll explain exactly what that is. But I want to go over some of the other concepts of collecting really briefly to give you an idea of why I chose this specific type of collecting. If you are a coin collector, there's a good chance that you follow one of these. So go ahead and put it down below. I'd love to hear what type of collecting you do. Let's talk about the most common types of collecting, and that would probably be the set collection. If you are a fan of the Morgan dollar and you're trying to find every single date, every single mint mark, maybe you're taking it a step further, you might be collecting those proof coins, or you're looking for those VAMs or varieties, the ones that would really build your entire collection, every date, mint mark, and style that you can possibly get with a Morgan dollar. Throwing in those ones that started coming out in 2021 and after, you can build however you want to this set of Morgan dollars. So set collecting is probably one of the most common ways that we collect coins. I've mentioned my little Lincoln Memorial set before. This is the pieces that came in the Lincoln series after the wheat cents, so after 1959. Including 1959. And I've pulled all of these out of change in maybe the last 12, 15 years, and I'm pretty proud of this little collection. I am not a set type collector, but you can see that I've done a pretty nice job. I am trying to find pieces that are uncirculated. I'm trying to find pieces that are red or maybe red-brown. The finest quality that I can possibly find, every date, every mint mark. That is a set collection. And that is really probably the most common way, bar one. And we'll talk about that one in just a minute. There's also the type collector. Maybe you like the entire series of silver dollars. You don't want to just limit yourself to Morgan dollars if you're a United States collector. Maybe you are flowing hair or bust, and then maybe you are the Gobrecht dollars, right? The seeded Liberty dollars, the Morgan dollars, the trade dollar, the peace, the Eisenhower, and so on and so on. Maybe you are that type of collector. You want one really nice example from every denomination that you could find. That's another way that you could collect these pieces. If you are a type collector, the Dansko 7070, this is a catalog, a binder that you can fill with all of these beautiful elements, all of these beautiful examples that form a complete type set. This is an example of an obsolete type set. These are actual coins that circulate in the United States of America going back quite a way. But you see here, we have a half-cent, we have a 2-cent piece, we've got a 3-cent silver, a 3-cent nickel, and even a 20-cent piece. And if I understand correctly, all of these pieces are still fully legal tender. This is an obsolete set. You can expand these types of collections any way that you really want to. And that's the beauty of coin collecting. Nobody is going to limit you. You are entitled to collect the way that you want to. But I think there are some benefits to the way that old Dub C collects. We'll talk about those. Are you one of these types of collectors, or one of these styles of collectors? I'd love to know. You could even make it even something that we might call specialized. What if you like all the coins of the country of Brazil or Japan? What if you like all of the 18th century Italian pieces, right? All of the pieces of World War II, doesn't matter what country it was, if they were involved in the conflict, you could collect all of these pieces. You could collect by ruler. What if you like Napoleon or Alexander the Great or Suleiman the First? What if you like a particular culture or theme? The coins of ancient Judea. I talked recently, and I'll put a link down below, about the coins that were made by the United States Mint for other countries. This is an interesting collection that contains hundreds of different examples. So you can see the style of collecting that you want to do or that you could do is wide open. There is no wrong or right answer. It's whatever excites you. And that's one of the beauties of being a coin collector. I like to think of a lot of people as being hybrid collectors, where you might involve all of these, right? How about all of the 20 franc coins of the Latin Monetary Union, all of those gold coins, those nickel-sized gold coins, like the 20 franc from Switzerland and France, and also the pieces from Italy of the same period. So you can make this as hybrid, as exciting, as specific as you want it to be. There's no right or wrong answer. Strict adherence are every bit as valid as those people who kind of dabble in each one of these. But that leads to another couple of types that I wanted to talk about, not types of collecting, not typesets. We're going to talk about two of them that are kind of polar opposites from each other, and the reason why I have formulated my style of collecting. And it has a lot to do with this next style. So the next style is what I call the hoarder. And if that name has negative connotations, then it probably should. I am guilty of being a hoarder. I started collecting when I was very young. And it started off being one of those things that all the friends of my parents would bring their change over to the house that they brought back from their trip to Europe or wherever else in the world they had been. So I was accumulating large amounts of coins and paper money, and it became something that was almost a running joke within my family. I had a closet, and in that closet were boxes and jars and coffee cans that were full of all sorts of pieces that were a mishmash of things. And to be honest, a lot of them didn't really have a lot of meaning to me. I was a young kid. I was experiencing it for the first time, so it was exciting. It was thrilling. We'll talk about that endorphin rush again here in just a second. But there is no method to the madness. It was really just an accumulation. It was a hoard in the truest sense. A hoard collector collects everything and anything. Acquisition begins to mean more than the object itself. And I think that that is a very important key thing. Look at yourself in the mirror. And if you are a hoarder also, like old Dubsy was, are you trying to kind of continue that excitement of collecting pieces? Does that mean more than the actual piece itself? Does the acquisition mean more than the object? That's the problem we get into when you're a hoarder of anything, right? It's also difficult to value. It's difficult to move. It's difficult to sell. It's difficult to give away when you are reaching that point in life where you want to hold this on and pass it on to the next generation, which is a noble thing. I think a lot of us have that idea. But when you are in a coin shop and you see people bring in boxes and trunk loads of jars and cans and sacks of everything that's been accumulated, most of the time it's not going to have a lot of value. It's going to be difficult to wade through, and it's not going to have any sentimental meaning. So this is one of the problems of being a hoarder. And for me, it's and I want to be clear about this. I'm not condemning you if you do this, because I was there with you. I was doing it myself. But it left me feeling more anxious than satisfied. It left kind of that gnawing feeling that this was a mountain of pieces that was going to tumble over someday. And it gets to be harder and harder to sift through it. You want to put it off and you want to put it off. And eventually it reaches a breaking point. And if you're the kind of person that has to move often, you know exactly what I'm talking about. This can be burdensome. And for me, coin collecting is something that I've been since I was very young. This is an important part of who I am. This is an important part of my identity. And when that important part of your identity starts to make you feel anxious, then you've got to make a change. And that's what happened to old Dubsy maybe 15 years ago, a few years maybe earlier than that even. And that's the final type of collecting that I wanted to talk about. It is the antidote to being a hoarder, and that is the box of 20 philosophy. So the box of 20 probably began a long time ago, the advent maybe of the third-party graders, right? The early 1980s. Sure, there were examples of it earlier, but I think one of the reasons why it started is because this is a slab holder. This was an NGC. This is an NGC holder. And if you open this up, and watch, I can never open one of these things on film. It's got essentially 20 slots, right? So this is probably the genesis of the modern concept of the box of 20. So it's in its purest sense, the concept is that your collection, your entire coin collection, consists of 20 pieces. Period. That's it. That is your entire collection. I want to let you think about that for just a second. Could you do something like this? Are you throwing up your hands and yelling at the screen, Dubsy, I could never do this. Believe me, I've been doing this for a very long time, and I've probably heard all of the different contradictions to that, all of the arguments against the box of 20 philosophy. Keep an open mind. I'm going to tell you exactly why I do this and why it's become a very significant philosophy that I carry through, not just in coin collecting, but in everything, including things like stacking, and you've seen examples of that in the past. Probably started with those coin holders, right? In its purest sense, the concept is that your entire collection is 20 pieces, 20 coins in your stack. In order to add something, you have to remove something so that you're always at 20 pieces. I know this is a difficult thing to wrap your head around if you've never heard it before. And hopefully a lot of people out there have kind of at least been introduced to this concept. I'll talk about it and why it's significant to me. There are problems with a box of 20, right? It doesn't work at all if you are a series collector. We talked about my Lincoln cent collection, right? We talked about if you're a Morgan dollar collection, your collection is going to be a vast, more than 20 pieces. So it probably wouldn't work for somebody who does that. I know a lot of people are going, whew, thank goodness. It doesn't work if you're a specialized collector. Like we said, all of the coins of World War II, you're talking about hundreds and hundreds of different examples, so it wouldn't work for that either, right? It can be extreme if you are a strict adherent to this philosophy. We're going to talk about it in strict sense, but you're also going to see that I don't follow it as strictly as I might make it out to be, so keep that in mind too. And it can also rob you of the joy of collecting. We talked about how being a hoarder can do that. But what if you are a pure coin collector, if you love the concept of collecting coins, if that really is something that's significant to you, being a box of 20 collector may start to rob you a little bit of that. But I think that you'll find if you decide to follow this philosophy, at least keep an open mind about it, it can lead to a much more fulfilling collection. We've talked a lot recently about the concept of making your stack better and not just bigger. I think this is the same idea of enhancement and distillation that we talked about earlier, that can really give you a collection that you are proud of, that really has significant meaning to you, and that can actually increase your enjoyment of the activity of coin collecting. Let's talk about it a little bit. There are benefits to doing this, right? The idea, and I know it's kind of strange, right? My coin collection is 20 pieces and that's it. It can benefit you because it lets you concentrate on discipline. You are doing that sifting and winnowing. You are doing that concentration. You're doing that refining. You're doing that distillation to try to get to the pieces that really have significant meaning. The discipline involved in a box of 20 collection keeps you from impulse buying. It keeps you from hoarding. It makes you stop just a second before you pull your wallet out. And it makes you ask, is this truly significant? Is this going to make my collection better and not just bigger? And I think that's really important. It allows you to focus, right? If you take time and hunt for the finest example of whatever it is that you want to add to your box of 20, that hunt, that chase can be just as rewarding as walking into the coin shop and blowing a bunch of money on pieces that don't have any meaning. If you can really start to concentrate on that one thing that you're looking for, then the thrill of the chase is every bit as exciting as the actual kill, right? This is a way to augment the experience and make it even better. Believe me, it really is. It is definitely an antidote to hoarding, right? If you decide to follow a box of 20 philosophy, then you're not going to be able to be a hoarder with a little bit of an exception. I've talked many times in the past how I try to use numismatic ideology when it comes to my stacking precious metals. And I do allow myself to continue down that path a little bit when it comes to precious metals when I'm building my stack, right? Because that is an outlet for the hoarder brain that I still have. But I think it's a positive use of that. I still apply a lot of the numismatic ideology, a lot of the numismatic terms and philosophies when it comes to stacking. You guys who have seen my stacks before know that I try to shy away from the everyday and I go after pieces that have potential, age, beautiful surfaces, a beautiful design, excellent condition, that kind of thing. All of these things I'm bringing from a numismatic background and I'm applying to a precious metal stacking, but I do allow myself to have way more than 20 pieces when it comes to precious metals. In fact, most of the pieces that you see here are part of my precious metal stack, even though they may not look at it. These are the pieces that are assigned in my Excel files and my stacks as being gold and silver. It's true. It is ideal for a type collector or somebody who enjoys representative pieces, and that's all Dub C to a T. The pieces in my coin collection all carry a ton of weight. They aren't just the object in themselves. Each example has a vast amount of meaning to them that I have applied to them, but also how they fit into the world historically. And I think that that makes your collection incredibly expansive and incredibly powerful. So the idea that you can be a type collector that is looking for those pieces that have representative meaning can really give you an exciting example. If you were looking at things like collecting Morgan dollars, rather than collecting the whole set, is there one specific Morgan dollar that would have the most meaning to you? If you're looking at a peace dollar, is there one peace dollar that would really have the most meaning for you? And in the case of my stacks, an example like this would be perfect, right? This is a 1921. This piece has an original green holder from PCGS. This piece is CAC and CMQ certified. This piece is a very rare VAM also. So you can see all of the different layers that apply to a coin like this. It's not simply a peace dollar in a binder of peace dollars. This one has significance. There is all sorts of different meaning for this one specific peace dollar. And I think that that is a fascinating way to add a bunch of interest to a coin collection while keeping the collection itself quite small. We'll talk about a lot of these ideas and themes as we get deeper into my box of 20. What's your best example of your Morgan dollar? What is your favorite example of your wheat cent? If you are a wheat cent collector, is there that one coin? Is it the 1955 double die? Is it the 1909 SVDB, the 14D, the 22 plain? What is it that is really the one piece that is representative of the entire series? Because I guarantee you that there are lots of other coins in that binder that really just don't mean that much to you. Am I right? Am I wrong? Let me know down below. If you are a hardcore collector of Morgan dollars, does the 1921 MS63 Morgan really mean that much to you? The 1881S, does it mean that much to you? Are there examples that just don't have a lot of meaning, but that are literally a place filler in your collection? Now you're starting to get the philosophy of the box of 20. There's so much out there that doesn't really matter, that keeps you from focusing on those pieces that truly do matter. The common arguments against, and I talked about those a little bit in the past. It's very strict, right? This is a discipline, and I am not a strict adherent to the box of 20s, but it is something that I really try to apply when it comes to many things in my life. Much of my collecting in my life, outside of coins and precious metals and everything else, it's that idea, that discipline, that stopping and thinking about it first. Is this really going to make my collection better? Is this just something I'm adding because I've got the money in my pocket and I see it sitting in front of me? Am I going to forget about this piece as soon as I put it in the trunk of my car? Is it going to have any meaning? Is it chasing the endorphins of buying that piece that really starts to have more significance than the piece itself, right? So the box of 20 is strict, but there are reasons for it being very strict. It can rob the joy of collecting from you. We've talked about that enough. I think you understand the idea. If this would make you miserable, then don't do this, right? What if you've got 20 boxes of 20? And I've heard this argument many times before. You're probably chuckling about it. The fact of the matter is that if you've got 20 boxes of 20, you are already starting to think about those pieces that do have significance. You're already starting this distillation process. In your mind, you can probably think, no matter how many thousands of coins you have, what are your top 5 or 6 favorite pieces? There are people who adhere to the box of 20 collections philosophy who say it doesn't matter how big your collection is, every collector is a box of 20 collector when they really think about it. So think about it. What are the top 20 pieces in your collection? And I bet you could find them. If you really stopped and thought about it, you can probably think of the favorite 2 or 3 or 4 right off the top of your head. But if you think about it, you probably have 20 pieces that really are your favorite. And you too are now a box of 20 collector. It's a lot of fun. Give it a shot. It's really cool. The common arguments for, right? Every collector has that box of 20. We just talked about it. Your top 20 pieces are your box of 20. Everything else is considered redundant, unnecessary, clutter. It's in the way. We talked about it with that Morgan Dollar series, right? There are undoubtedly pieces that don't thrill you the way that the really rare pieces do. So think about that in those terms also. It's really about focus. And by being about focus, it's not about chasing the shiny and getting that endorphin rush. It's about stopping for a second and thinking about it. Is it going to make your stack or your collection better and not just bigger? It's especially good if you do drift towards that hoarder mentality like old Dub C does. And believe me, you don't have to be a strict adherent to at least kind of understand the concept of it. So this is my box of 20. These are intercept shield boxes, and within each one of these, there are 20 coins. And these are, and I've talked about this style of preservation of coins, and I'll put a link down below. This is what I think is probably the very finest way to store a rare coin collection, the intercept shield boxes. And then within each one of these boxes, you have 10 coins. So we've got 20 total. This is my box of 20 coin collection. So now you've got an introduction to the idea, the philosophy of the box of 20. And I'm not going to show you one yet. You're going to have to wait for the next one. But I wanted to give you an idea of the philosophy of it. I wanted to give you that bedrock, to use another one of those refining terms, those distillation terms. So you understood when you start to see these pieces, the significance of them. And as I am introducing you to each one of these pieces, or almost each one of these pieces, I will be explaining what that significance is, why it means a lot to old Dub C, why I have these pieces, why they are representative, exactly why I wanted these pieces to be in my box of 20. And you will find out that even though I am a box of 20s collector, I don't adhere to it completely. There are examples that I think of almost as anchors for other pieces that branch out from my box of 20 collection. I'm not perfect. Old Dub C is as flawed as the next person, but I guarantee you that I have used these concepts, the philosophy of box of 20, when I have branched out from these core pieces. And I do feel like they are significant anchors to maybe a smaller, significant subset of the box of 20. The box of 20 philosophy. You guys are going to have to let me know what you think about this. Is this the first time you've heard of this? Does this make any sense to you at all? Do you think of this as being something that is completely bizarre that you could never possibly do? I understand it, right? I've heard these arguments for very many years, and I'm not telling you that this is something that you should necessarily do. And believe me, I'm not saying sell your collection and just pick those top 20 pieces. I want to make that abundantly clear. That is not what I'm about. But if you start to apply the philosophy of really looking for the pieces that have meaning, significance, they are representative, they are maybe the most scarce, I'm hesitant to say the most valuable, because you'll find pieces in my box of 20 that have very little monetary value, but have significant importance to me as Dub C, as a coin collector, as a human being. So let me know what you think about this. If you have questions about the philosophy, by all means leave it down below. If you haven't heard of this before, if this is a new concept, if you think this is a terrible idea, definitely leave that concept down below. I would love to hear those thoughts. And again, I encourage anybody and everybody to look through those comments down below. Let's have a conversation about this to see what you think about it. It's going to make a lot more sense when you start seeing the individual pieces in my box of 20, I guarantee you. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, love to have you click on that subscription button, hit the notification button as well, because we're not going to talk about these all at once. I'm going to be sorting videos into my regular mix of videos over time so you can see this series unfold before your eyes. So this is volume 1. We will have a subsequent volume probably in the next few months, and you'll be able to reference this video as kind of the foundation for how that video appears, how that coin appears in my collection. So if you haven't yet subscribed, hit the subscription button, hit the notification button too, so you can find out about the other videos that I'll be making in the series. I tend to premiere brand new videos every Friday evening. Hopefully you are watching this video with me on a Friday night. If you are, definitely say hi in the conversation that we're having off to the side, because I'm almost always there to watch the video with you for the first time as it premieres. And we often go live immediately after the premiere for a deeper discussion where everything is open, the floor is wide open, as long as it's about coins and precious metals vaguely. I open the floor up to everybody. If you've got questions, if you've got comments, it's a great way, a fast-paced way to say hi and speak with other people in the community. And I think it's a fantastic way to start the weekend. I really look forward to those live streams. Definitely join me for that if we're having a live stream after this premiere. I like to end my videos by saying, always be learning. And thank you for allowing me to be a part of your journey as we go deeper into the world of coins and physical precious metals.